Hello, fellow mompreneurs. Welcome to the Real Moms Podcast, the go-to space for resilient entrepreneurs who are striving for abundant living. I'm your host, Shay Spitz, a mompreneur and a realtor here in Columbus, Nebraska. Are you a mom juggling the hustle of entrepreneurship, family life, and personal growth? Well, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we dive deep into the real, unfiltered stories of incredible women who are navigating the journey of mompreneurship. We'll celebrate the victories, share practical insights, and acknowledge that it's okay to face challenges along the way. Success isn't about the destination. It's about the journey and the growth we experience as we balance our careers and the chaos of family life. Whether you're a seasoned mompreneur or just starting on this exciting path, join me and our amazing guests as we explore what it truly means to be a resilient entrepreneur striving for abundant living. Get ready for real, raw, and remarkable conversations that will inspire and uplift you. Because here at the Real Moms Podcast, we believe in the power of community, authenticity, and the strength that comes from embracing the journey together. So grab your coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's dive into the world of mompreneurship. This is the Real Moms Podcast, where we celebrate the hustle, honor the struggle, and thrive as resilient entrepreneurs living abundantly. Do what you love. Don't wait until you can afford to do something to actually make the change, because it is so important to do everything in life when you love what you are doing. As the cliche saying always goes, if you do what you love, you won't work a day in your life. So Kaylene talks about this in her changes in our podcast, but she made changes here recently within the last 4 or 5 years, where most people, you get pretty comfortable and you don't want to make a change when you get to a certain age, but she has gone above and beyond and taken those risks and those challenges because she really found a love with real estate many years ago, and she wanted to take that chance on herself. So dive in and take a listen. Welcome to another episode of Real Moms Podcast. I like to start every podcast off with a motivational quote, and today's quote is, "There's no home I can't find a vision for. Some just need a little more love than others." So today I have the honor of introducing Kaylene Heck, who is an agent with RealtyOne Group Sterling in the Omaha Metro market. She respects the value of family and community and carries those values through to assist her customers. With her work in customer services and sales, she has developed excellent skills that translate onto her client relationships. Kaylene shows great professionalism, honesty, loyalty, and character, and enjoys working and meeting with like-minded individuals. So Kaylene, thank you so much for being here and being flexible with my busy schedule, and then obviously your busy schedule as well.
That's okay. Great. It's glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to our time together. I think there's always great avenues to meet more people from the Midwest, and I'm looking forward to this.
And clearly you're in the Bahamas. It must be beautiful there.
So this is part of my theme. I feel like you should feel like you get to go home to vacation all the time. So just the thought that you're there and relaxed, that's how work should be. And hopefully you can find a way to get there.
It is all about your mindset. It is all about your mindset when you go into anything in life in general. Even if it's something that you're dreading, if you can change your mindset around it, like, oh, I love this, it's beautiful, and not in a sarcastic way, but truly, okay, I am here to help these people. I am here, I'm making phone calls to help get their home sold. Whatever the case is, like, you need to turn your mindset around on what you are doing. Otherwise, if you're going into everything with a pessimistic mentality, it gets to be a little bit dragging.
Absolutely. I think a cup of coffee in the morning on the beach or a glass of wine at night just kind of lets you think about your business and your clients and everything going on, and clear your head to the point you can deal with whatever they have happening in their transaction.
Yeah, it's not always easy. There's always challenges, but if you can really stay level-minded and level-headed, getting through those challenging times is so much easier. So much easier.
Absolutely.
So how long have you been in business?
So I've actually only been in real estate. This is my 5th year now. I have done a few other things. I grew up on a farm in the Midwest. So there's just things that you find fall in your niche, factory work, different things. Ended up being a buyer for a large folding carton factory in the Midwest. They had locations all across the United States. And so that kind of got me, my foot in the door as to working more with people. And I have to tell you that as I got to the point of having grandchildren, I watched my children and their work-life balance was different than what you got to grow up with at my age. And I envied that and actually wish I'd have done real estate sooner because it's always been a niche I liked. It's always hard to change gears and do something different. And so that took a lot, but it's a corner that I have always loved. Even before being an agent, you can't count on both hands how many homes I've lived in because work on them, do something, make it happen, on to the next project has kind of always been my motto.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I really want to kind of go back to the fact that, I mean, you don't need to say your age or anything, but that people can make changes at any point in time in their life. You just have to believe and commit to it. You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
people get to a certain age, and you don't even need to be very old, but I think people do something for so long, even if you're like when I was a case manager for mentally ill adults, I did that for 6 years. I went to school for it. So making that change, even at a young age, probably not as scary, but still it comes with the unknowns. And when you're so committed to something else for so long, people feel like, oh, I can't make that change. And I think that's why people go through midlife crisis because they're not doing the thing that they love to do, all those things. But what was kind of that pivotal point where you were like, no, I'm doing it. I am doing it.
Well, I decided that I was going to see more of my grandchildren's life than I did of my own children because when you had a job where you couldn't get away and so forth. Today, jobs are just a little different and they're way more, I don't want to say lenient, but way more able to be scheduled appropriately, where it didn't really used to be that way in the career path that I had. So that's the part that was a huge adjustment for me. I'm still a terrible workaholic. I still have something about my business going on every day, but maybe not the entire day. Maybe I'm able to make things come and go and schedule accordingly. A lot of times I'm scheduling for someone else's schedule too, but you can kind of make your life work around it better. And I decided this was my retirement gig because I really don't see myself stopping very soon. But this was just the next chapter, and I was going to learn to get a better work-life balance than I ever have had before.
Yeah. And I think a little bit of the misconception, especially getting into real estate, is people say they want more flexibility, that they want more time with your family. Now, that does come with the price, depending on how committed you are. But a lot of times you might be missing out on some things that you maybe weren't hoping to miss out on, but you do typically work more evenings and weekends. And I mean, the longer you're in the business, you can kind of schedule and set your own time. But especially at first, like you are saying yes to every single opportunity that comes up. At least
Well,
I was anyway.
yeah, absolutely. But when I first came in, it was like the COVID time. And that is how it was. And the market has been crazy. And you didn't say, I'll show you that house next Thursday because that's what fits our schedules. You said, if you like it, we're going today because it might be gone by tomorrow. So that's just kind of dictated a few things that are actually kind of getting better now. The market's kind of back to normal a little bit better. And I think that it helps people adjust and make a plan to see five or six instead of, oh, today we have to go to this one.
Yeah.
Oh, another one came up. Tomorrow we have to go to this one. I think it does help you adjust your plans and
Yeah.
let you have a little peace of mind to think instead of being rushed and making a irrational decision.
Yeah, yeah. And it lets you breathe a little bit. And
Yeah,
not only as the
absolutely.
client, but as the agent, because even as the agent, you're like, okay, we got to go. We got to go. I mean, I'll never forget this one individual that I was working with. I bet we made offers on 10 different homes. And by the end of it, I'm like, do you just want to be your own agent? Because you got this down. Like he's like, we're doing this, escalation clause at this, no inspections. I'm like, do you want to write it up? Maybe just get your license. And he was fantastic to work with, but it was obviously a joke. But yeah, it was just, I
Yeah.
prefer kind of what we're in now. Like it was fun, it was busy, but I think
But I always feel better when people get an inspection and they get to at least go through their house with someone who lets them understand things about it, especially like first-time home buyers, because I think there's a lot of steps to first-time home buying. And the first one has nothing to do with looking at a house. I think you need to meet with someone, understand one, not only the financial ramifications, but are you with a lender that you like and that's going to understand your dynamics and what you need? And have you thought about insurance? Because you need homeowner insurance now. And are, are you married? Are you not married? Do you have the same insurance? Are you putting it all together for group discounts? There's just a lot of things to think about that most people really haven't when they start looking.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so you got into the business about 5 years ago. Were you ever an entrepreneur prior to real estate, or were you just always kind of working for somebody?
In addition to working for someone, I have owned a business before. We
Okay.
had a business, it had rentals upstairs. So I've had 4 or 5 rentals at a time. And today I don't have that many, but I might end up with more. It just kind of depends what's going on in the market in your life, whether
Mhm.
it fits you or not.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's always been a little side hustle to working for someone else in addition.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have more than one stream of income, and sometimes you got to do more to get there. And if
Yes.
you
Yep.
don't, you're always wondering why you don't. And you
Yes.
won't ever have it if you don't get in there and dig in and figure out how to have it.
And to take chances, because with every opportunity comes risk, and so many people are not willing to take on that risk because of the unknown. I've always been like, oh, let's give it a try, see how it goes. If it doesn't work out, we'll figure it out. You know what I mean?
I'll do
My
it
husband,
different next time, right?
yeah, my husband's a little bit more on the steer on the side of caution kind of person. It's good. It's a good balance, but I'm always about, especially like right now, I can for the most part. I mean, I still got 3 little ones. I obviously need to be cognizant of where I'm throwing my money and opportunities. But I like to just roll with the punches. If an opportunity comes up, I don't want to completely turn it down, even if I am busy. It's like, okay, well, what does that look like? Can I handle this? And I kind of weigh out those options and stuff. But when you decided to make that change, did you have anybody who gave you pushback? Did you have anybody who was pushing you to do it? What did that look like in the family dynamic of things?
No, my husband's actually very supportive of that part. The classes didn't take a long time. I took them all at once and did it in the course of like a month and then studied for the test, trying to plan it so I got my license at the first of a year, just so things would fit together, make sense by when fees are due and so forth. And it's easier to study in the winter and business starts in the spring. So it just kind of made sense for me. Yeah, I have always enjoyed homes and real estate per se.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a easy want to change. It was just always a hard, do I really want to be self-employed? That's the tough part.
Yeah, it is because you're kind of wearing a ton of different hats. You're wearing the hat of the negotiator, you're wearing the hat of the paperwork, you're wearing the transaction coordinator, especially at first, typically, unless you go with a brokerage that has a lot of that out there for you. But it's
Mhm.
just finding the people and putting them in the right places, CPA, attorneys. It's just a domino effect, and it can be very overwhelming, especially at first, because you're looking at the whole pie versus like the pieces that need to kind of fall into place.
So my brokerage here at RealtyOne Group Sterling, they are fantastic. There are just a lot of resources. So any questions you have are easy to get answered. But I think that the bigger thing for people is when you get in, you got to get all in and do I make enough to sustain myself and keep things rolling? And that's always the unknown for you when you're brand new and the hardest part of getting going, I think. Sometimes a good partner where your household funds are adequate so you can make changes is always good. Always learn to live within your means so that you're not affecting your work by making financial decisions that you wouldn't have made if you weren't struggling, leave
Yeah.
yourself sitting good.
Yeah. And I like how you made the comment live within your means. Like just because you make more doesn't mean you should go out and spend more money unless you're reinvesting it into your business, which I tend to do probably too much of.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, I don't live above my means when it comes to
Correct.
like my personal life. Like we could we move? Yes, probably. But we're content. We're comfortable. We have a great interest rate, all those things. But I think the problem comes when people, especially getting into real estate, people start making a lot more money. So then they start spending more. They go buy a brand new vehicle. Maybe they get a bigger house. And then the next year comes and the interest rates go from 3% to 6.5% within a month or two, and business really slows down. So then people are panicking because now, okay, I was basing my purchase price on the home and my expenses off of my income from the year before. Well, now times change because you don't anticipate the unexpected.
Right.
And that's when a lot of people get into trouble when it comes to entrepreneurship is you're basing your income off of that 1 year or maybe the 2 years, and you're trying to live up to those means in entrepreneurship, not just real estate, but it's constantly changing. You're gonna have slower times, you're gonna have high times. So don't base your expenses off of your high times, base it off of
Right.
like the middle part, because
Yeah, I always say when it starts to slow down, just take a vacation and then the phone starts ringing. It never fails, you know.
isn't that the truth?
It
Oh
is. It
my gosh,
is.
it drives me crazy because you're like, oh, I can't take a vacation, I'm busy. And then things slow down. You're like, oh, okay, well, let's go do something, or you have it pre-planned, and then all of a sudden everybody and their dog and mother want to go
That's
look at a
right.
house or sell. And I'm like, what just happened? But that's
Yeah,
why it's important to have a
absolutely.
group of people who can step in and fill in while you
Oh
are gone.
yeah, absolutely. We have a great group like that. So if someone has something going on, there's always someone you can lean on. So it's just been a super office to be associated with.
Yeah, it is so important to surround yourself with, like you said in your quote or in your bio, like-minded individuals, because those like-minded individuals are going to be the ones who are going to step in and help you in times
Yeah,
of need.
absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me now, do you ever include them, your kids, grandkids, husband in your business?
Well, yes, at times, like if there's fundraisers or different things, or like the bell ringing that we do as agents, sometimes there'll be one of them along, or we'll do a parade event or things like that, and they'll be part of the equation.
Awesome. That is awesome. And how old are your grandkids?
They're 9 and 11, the
Okay.
two older ones. And then I have two small ones that are two, and one is not even 6 months old yet. So,
Oh, that's so
yeah.
much fun. Do they live around you?
So the 9 and 11, they are around here, and then the other two are in North Carolina. So it's a little farther distance to get connected with them and a little harder.
Yeah, a little bit, but that's so much fun. And that's the power of social media, though, too, is like you can really connect, FaceTime, you can really connect even though they are long distance. And that actually goes into business too, because I will be honest, the first time this has ever happened, I literally put a house under contract by sending videos to a client through Snapchat.
Oh, wow.
I've
Nice.
never, it is the craziest thing. They're like, yeah, just because they weren't able to make it back. And they're like, hey, but you have to adapt at those times. He's like, well, why don't you just send me all the videos through Snapchat? And I'm like, really? Like, how about I just record them and then I send them to you through Messenger or through text because then you can at least go back to them. He's like, no, let's just do Snapchat. I'm like, huh. And I already met these people, but they weren't able
Oh,
to
that
make it there in person on this one. So he's like, just add me on Snapchat and we'll just do it that way. I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but sure. And yeah, they ended up putting that particular property under contract and we close in a couple weeks.
I have some folks right now that are out of the country that I'm dealing with. And so, yeah, it does, the time lag and the time difference does make a little bit of difference. So I'm kind of glad the market slowed down a little. Otherwise, it makes it very hard to be
Yeah.
very timely with some of
Yeah.
those customers.
Yeah. What are some challenges that you maybe have experienced now or in the past that you maybe didn't anticipate when getting in and doing your own business?
There were some things that I didn't really know a lot about, like working with VA loans and or who can get them, and the fact that they're assumable by other people. There's things like that that I probably didn't have a clue about prior. I think I didn't understand maybe how good the home inspection process was for many people because I have built a house from scratch. I have generaled it and no, just assume that I've known parts of doing that over my life. And what people don't know or haven't experienced, I think a home inspection does help them learn a little bit more about what they're buying. And I think it's really good for them. And I've had, like, when the market was really crazy and there were times when everybody wanted to buy with no inspection, I still gave a home inspection to a client because I just wanted them to be able to understand what they bought and understand the dynamics of what their furnace is and what they needed and what the power box is and those things. So I still gave that to them as a new owner gift because I thought it was really relevant for new people to learn more about a home if that wasn't anything in their background.
Yeah, because it is very overwhelming. You go from renting and relying on your landlord to fix anything and everything, so you don't pay attention to where the
Absolutely.
main water line is at, what the furnace is, how often you need to change the filter, how to work a sprinkler system. Like we have a sprinkler system, and I can tell you, I don't ever do it. My husband does. So if he's like, "Hey," I mean, they're fairly simple, but still, I mean, it's just something that I've never had to deal with. And yeah, I mean, when you're buying a home for the first time, it's very overwhelming, you know?
And I think that your home inspector is very key. And
Yes.
we didn't say whether we could recommend someone, but I think that picking someone like that is just super important for people. They need to relate to them. They need to be able to trust what they're saying, and they need to have a good reputation and the ability to deliver the information to them well. And I found a couple that I think are fabulous about it. And that's just a key element to your business.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, you want to have, and not just home inspectors, but really lenders, insurance
Mhm.
agents, you have them all because you want them to be able to explain the process because there's so much more to buying and selling than just the price and putting it on the market. There's just a lot of things that kind of domino effect and trickle down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, do
Yeah.
you foresee any challenges in your business here coming up? How do you feel with the whole NAR settlement? I mean, we won't dive into that too deep, but is that a concern for you at all?
Well, it's not really a concern for me because I felt like I explained to buyers how the commission worked across the transaction in general to begin with. I haven't had anyone question signing a broker to broker sheet amongst the agent, or usually you kind of relay it between you. And then when they're putting in an offer, they make sure that we've all signed the right documents to do that. But it does change things, like when you're doing your open house and so forth. Making sure that people understand who's paying what, I think is very, very important. And I don't disagree with some of the outcomes of it. I think we might be a little cumbersome in paperwork at the moment, and it'll work itself out as
Yeah.
time goes on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just like, okay, just tell me what I need to do. I'll do it. But I think a lot of it's going to change at some point in time. But I do think it's all good. I mean, every change, I know there's so many agents who are just in an uproar of so many things because people don't like change. And change is and can be very hard. But if you don't, but it's again goes back to your mentality. Like if you just keep a positive mentality, no, I am here to truly represent the buyer because it can cost a buyer thousands and thousands of dollars if you go unrepresented. And I understand there's a cost to be represented, but you at least get the peace of mind, you get the convenience, you can save even more than what you could potentially miss out on. You could save a lawsuit in yourself. But it's so much, there's always a benefit for every single thing every change that comes around.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever changed brokerages since you got into real estate?
I actually have, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that's not easy though either. Even if, go ahead.
No, it's not easy. And then your
Okay.
signs all change and all your social media and photographs and everything. So it's a little costly at times, but it's mostly you don't want to forget something and not have them all changed. So yeah, it's a mental equation, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I changed brokerages not too long ago. And leading up to it, it was sickening. It was gut wrenching. I cried a lot before, I cried a lot after, but it was something that I knew needed to happen. And even
Uh-huh.
though I couldn't pinpoint exactly why, I was just like, I know this is what I need to do. But actually, I had a lot of pushback from my husband. My husband was like, no, you shouldn't do this. You got this going on. You got this going on. I mean, there was just a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknowns. And I got to the point and I'm like, that's not what I want to hear. I said, I know I need to make this
Already
change.
made up my mind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's not what I want to hear because men, especially, they want to fix the problem. They want to point out the things that can go wrong and they don't see the bigger vision, the future, things like that. And I said, nope, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear you tell me, Shay, you know what? Whatever you decide, I am going to back you on it. If it doesn't work out, we'll figure something else out. And whatever you do, I'm here to support. And
Yeah.
he was like, okay. I was like, I don't want to hear all your negativity. I already
Well,
got that going on in my own head. So
yeah.
I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, no matter how long you've been in business, I've been in business for about 6 years as a real estate agent, you're always going to come across challenges every single
You
day.
are. You are.
Because you've never
Yep.
had a challenging transaction, have you?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And to me, sometimes those are the fun ones because you
They
get
are.
to
You
think
usually
out.
learn something before it's done. And I think that's always nice. I love the fact that it's not boring, it's ever changing, and you learn something every day.
Yeah.
So I
Well, and
think
you
it's
don't,
super.
yeah, and you don't learn from your successes. You don't. You learn from your failures. So I am
Yeah.
so smart. No, but I have failed a lot. I have failed a lot, but you keep going. It's not, you don't really fail. People don't fail, they quit. That was a quote I heard and I absolutely loved it. We
True.
have tuition. So when you make mistakes, it's going to cost you financially or whatever the case is. Yeah, I'll never forget. That happened years ago. There was to this day, I would say I was still in the right, but it wasn't worth arguing with the other agent over it. But so anyway, it cost me a hot tub, which was about $1,800. And I was like, I'm not
Ah,
going to do
yes.
this. And I'll never forget, I went to my broker and she's like, Shay, that's called tuition. And I'm like, yeah, it
It
is. Because
is.
I should have specified. I should have been a little bit more specific, or they should have, but I didn't question it. It was a whole thing. But either way, it cost me about $1,800 because my sellers wanted to keep the hot tub and the buyers thought that they were getting it. It was a whole thing. But
I know on occasion there's nothing like working for free, is there?
fortunately, it was a bigger transaction. So it wasn't like a ton of money or a ton of my commission. It was
Yeah.
still a lot of my commission, but it
But it
wasn't.
happens. You buy parts or stoves or something or warranties or whatever. It's sometimes just part of the deal. You never know what fits as every transaction's different.
Or you forget to collect a invoice or they don't get it to you in time and then it closes and then you get it a week later and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yep. Now
Do I
that's
really
what,
want to go back to my client and be like, hey, here's another bill. You want to pay it? Sometimes I
yeah.
have, but other times I'm just like, I'll just pay it, whatever. So,
Yeah,
I mean, it can get very costly. Now, that's not always encouraged, but it can definitely get very costly.
it can.
Yeah, because sometimes your reputation is, or I shouldn't say sometimes, all the time, your reputation means more than just a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 here and there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now I have a question. What is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self or somebody starting off in entrepreneurship? Not necessarily real estate, but what is one piece of advice you would give to them?
Yeah, not necessarily real estate, just advice that says, I would say do what you love. Okay. Don't wait until you think you can afford to do something because it'll just give you a happier life to pursue what's actually in your dreams.
And they always say if you chase the money, it's never going to come. It might come for a little while,
Right.
but it's not going to be sustainable. Because if you
Do
don't
what you love.
enjoy,
It all falls into
yeah,
place. Yeah.
yeah. And it is kind of hard to find out, especially when you're a mom and you have no hobbies. It's kind of hard to find what you love. I love puzzles, but I'm not making money off of puzzles. I love doing puzzles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, I totally agree. You have to enjoy what you get up and get to do every day. You don't have to do it, you get to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just think there's a lot of things you can choose to do in life, and doing what makes you happy is just the best part of the game because if you're not in a good mood about it, then you just ruin your day and everyone else's. So
Yeah,
all good.
absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kaylene, for being here. How
For
can
having me.
somebody get a hold of you if they're looking to buy in the Omaha Metro area
So you
or sell?
can Google hashtag one heck of a home and you will find me. That is my
I
tagline.
love that.
Yeah,
Get it, listeners? Her last name's Heck, so one heck of a home.
that's right. And my name and number, I'm sure, do I say it or do you
Yeah,
flash?
if you're comfortable saying
Yeah.
it, absolutely.
Kaylene Heck, of which it's always hard to spell my last name. So write down 402-650-5610. RealtyOne website has my name and face there too. It's easy to find, but always hashtag one heck of a home will come up with my name in the city of Omaha.
That
So
is so fun. I love that.
it's been great to connect with you today. I love your podcast. I think it's just a phenomenal little tidbit of information for people out there. So I appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you being here, and we'll definitely stay connected.
All right. Sounds wonderful.
Thanks,
Thanks so
Kaylene.
much. Have a wonderful day.
You too. And that wraps up another inspiring episode of the Real Moms Podcast. A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their story and insights today. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And hey, sharing is caring, right? Share this podcast with your fellow mompreneurs, friends, and anyone who you feel could use a dose of inspiration. Share it on your social media as well. But most importantly, if you found this episode helpful, please leave me a 5-star review. This helps get our information out to those who have never heard or seen us before. Are you feeling inspired and you're sure that you could add some value to the podcast? Shoot me a message and let's talk. We love hearing from you. So connect with us on social media. Tag me at Shay J Spitz. That's ShaeJSpitz. And share your thoughts and takeaways, or even suggest topics you'd like to have us explore more in the future episodes. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Your resilience is your strength, and your pursuit of abundant living is truly remarkable. As always, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep embracing the beautiful chaos of being a mompreneur. Until next time, take care, stay real, and keep living abundantly.